Hello, finance students. We are on the last set of ratios for Chapter 4. We're looking at market value ratios. We're going to look at two of those specifically, the PE ratio and the market to book ratio. Both of these ratios essentially look at how is the firm viewed in the market, or how is it valued in terms of investors that we see. Now, when we calculate these two ratios, we have to do some preliminary findings of information that we're going to have to go out to Google Finance or another financial resource to collect the data that we need. If you go to the other data tab, you'll see 4 items here that we need to fill in. Outstanding shares, meaning the number of shares that are in the marketplace currently. The market price, or essentially what is the current stock price for the company we're looking at. EPS is earnings per share that we looked at back in Chapter 3. And then the last one is our book value per share, which we'll have to do some calculating of that. So the first calculation we need to find is the PE ratio, or the price earnings ratio. And this really is an indication of how much investors have been willing to pay for $1 of reported earnings. And remember, when we talk about earnings, that is synonymous with net income that we see. Okay, so in essence, what we're looking at is the price, the market price per share, compared to earnings per share. Okay, so net income per share that we have here, and that is under our earnings per share that we have here. But we need to find a couple of things. We need to find out how many outstanding shares we have in the marketplace and what is the current market price. So to do that, we have to go to Google Finance. So we can flip over to Google Finance. We can search for Apple, AAPL, and that pulls up our information here. So the two things we need our shares, number of shares. So we have 513 billion. If you see right here, you have shares, number of shares, a little bit high. And then we have our current market price of $169.85. So we can take that $169.85 that we have here, the stock price, and we can copy that over and enter it into our market price, $169.85. So that is our current market price. And the number of outstanding shares, 5.13 billion. Okay, so we have 5.13 billion. However, we're going to need to update this. If we go back to our income statement or balance sheet, notice all numbers, it says here, all numbers are in millions. So we are going to need to make sure that we use the same basis of comparison when we do our ratios. So instead of 5.13 billion, we need to convert this to millions. So we know that 1 billion is 1,000 million. So this needs to be converted to 5.13 billion would be 5,130 million shares that are outstanding. Let me get rid of this that we have. So now that we have that, to go and calculate our price earnings ratio. Remember, it's price per share compared with earnings per share. So we have our price per share is this $169.85. Our earnings per share, we're going to need to compare our net income to the number of outstanding shares that we have. So to find that, we're going to have to calculate our earnings per share. We find our net income on our income statement, which is $45,687, and we're going to divide that. Remember, that's 45,687 million, and we're going to divide that by our 5,130 million shares outstanding. So our earnings per share, currently we have it 8.19. Now that we have that, we can look at our price earnings ratio. And to do that, calculate our price earnings ratio. We are going to take our price per share of $169.85 and divide it by our earnings per share. So currently the PE ratio that we would calculate is about 19.07, which we see is pretty close, a little bit higher than the industry average, but right there, not too bad. Okay, so that is the PE ratio. The last we're going to look at is our market to book ratio. And market to book ratio simply compares past performance, which is the book value, to future expectations, which is the market price. And we know that stock is simply current expectations of future performance that we see. And so our stock price is just a reflection of what investors believe will happen to the cash flows of an organization in the future. So in order to find the market to book ratio, we have to find our book value per share first. because we know what our market price per share is. We already have that $169. We need to know what our book price per share or book value per share is. And in order to find that, we have to compare our total equity, total common equity, and we divide that by the number of shares that are outstanding. So we will find that here, book value per share. So to do that, to calculate our book value per share, we find our outstanding common equity, which is on the balance sheet, our shareholders' equity of $129,249, and we're going to divide that / by the number of shares that we have outstanding of 5,130 million that we have. So roughly our book value per share we see is about $25. So now that we have that, we can compare our book value per share to our market price, or actually market to book ratio. It's called market to book ratio. So it's the market price compared to the book value per share. So to do that, equal sign, other data, market price, 169.85, divided by my / my $25, my book value per share of $5. Hit enter. That gives us a market to book ratio about 6.79, and we compare that to the industry average about 6.43. So they're right on target, slightly ahead of industry average, which is pretty good, we see.